one of the only surviving guild hall of the city of Dublin. There were once 6 guild halls in the city, and in the guilds were, of course, were trade associations of the merchants, and this is the Merchant Tailors Guild. This building was built in the reign of Queen Anne in 1706, before Georgian Dublin was built, before the expansion of the city outside the medieval core, just to give it its antiquity. The guild system, of course, is universal across Western Europe, and indeed much of the rest of Europe as well, and was involved in the governance of the cities, the training and qualification of members of professions, crafts, and the benevolence. And growing from that comes the movement of Freemasonry in the 18th century. The English Grand Lodge is founded in London in 1717, and the second oldest is the Irish one, founded in 1725. At least that's the first recorded mention, the election of a new Grand Master. That group used this building as their headquarters. They grew out of the Masons Guild, of course. And a key characteristic of Freemasonry is this idea of the universal fraternity of all mankind and the equality of religions. That reaches a peak in the 1790s in this building. A Masonic lodge subservient to that Grand Lodge had the following reputed members: Theobald Wolfe, James Napper Tandy, Archibald Hamilton Rowan, Jonathan Football Curran, Lord Edward Fitzgerald, Robert Emmet, Thomas Addison, and one Daniel O'Connell. Those people are largely known to us as the United Irishmen. In 1791, Thomas Paine's The Rights of Man is published as a rebuke to Edinburgh's reflections upon the French Revolution. That becomes a very widely read book in Ireland. There are records of crowds crowding into coffee houses to hear it read because they couldn't afford to buy it, and of rural poor collecting their pennies to buy the book so it could be read. It's very widely read in Ireland. In 1792, Theobald Wolfe, as organising secretary of the Catholic Committee, Theobald Wolfe, of course, is a Protestant, as indeed many of the people I mentioned were, some were Catholics, organises with the Catholic Committee the Back Lane Parliament here in 1792. It assembles in December 1792 here and passes a series of motions. But the first thing to mention about the Back Lane Parliament is that it's modelled on the French Revolutionary precedent. 3 years earlier, the Tennis Court Convention convenes in Paris as a shadow parliament, and it gives rise to the French Revolution. Well, here we have, on the same constituencies as the Irish House of Commons, where for every MP elected to the Irish House of Commons, a body which only Protestants could sit in, members of the Church of Ireland, the Anglican Church could sit in, and only be elected by, from the same constituencies, a deputy is elected to come here. And they assembled for a week in 1792, with, by the way, one young man called Daniel O'Connell, 19 years of age, representing Ennis in County Clare. There's a list outside in the hall of the members of the Back Lane Parliament. They pressed for a series of reforms. The principal one
from Ennis
here
today.
They pressed for a series of reforms. The principal one being summarised is, from henceforth the law should be blind to a man's religion. Now, this is the first declaration of equality of religion before the law in Ireland. And it is, of course, slightly earlier in the year, in 1791, the United Irishmen are actually formally founded, both in Dublin and Belfast. They meet great success with the support of Edmund Burke, Henry Grattan, and Lord Charlemont, leaders of the Patriot Party, which only 10 years earlier had got legislative independence for the Irish Parliament, and that reforming movement in spirit was still alive. And in 1793, they reassembled here, sadly on the day that the King's head is cut off in Paris, but it takes 3 months for the news to reach Ireland. The King, George III, has actually received them and is sympathetically disposed. And the first Catholic Relief Bill is passed through the Irish Parliament. It, among other things, extends trial by jury for the first time to Catholics, the right of franchise for municipal elections, but not to be elected to a municipal body or hold any office. The recognition of marriages for inheritance purposes, other than Church of Ireland marriages, and the readmission to trades and professions for Catholics. This has a major effect upon Daniel O'Connell, who can now go off and study law. So in 1790, so he carries on the campaign. He's back here, indeed a standing counsel to the Grand Lodge of Freemasons, and later on as with the Catholic Committee, meeting in this room. And in 1829, finally achieves through the British Imperial Parliament what we in Ireland refer to as Catholic emancipation. But it's a far much wide-reading measure than that. It's Catholic, Hindu, Jewish, and Muslim emancipation throughout the British communities that is actually achieved by that passage of that act. And that, of course, has huge effects. Benjamin Disraeli, a generation later, was Prime Minister of England, and of course, Mahatma Gandhi ultimately can become a barrister, etc. in India, and many Muslims and Hindus serve on municipal councils and so on. So that reforming process takes place here. So this room is the centre of Irish historic life. It's the centre of the change of thinking from a medieval world to a progressive world, to democracy from aristocracy and monarchy. And there's no doubt that their intention was in 1792-93 to ultimately declare an Irish Republic. And of course in 1798 there was actually a armed rising in Dublin and in much around the country to achieve that, for those who don't know Irish history. Just to put this in context, more than 30,000 people were killed in that conflict in 1798. 5,000 were put to death in the city of Dublin alone in about a 6-week period, they reckon. This contrasts with the French Revolution, where the terror of the French Revolution, the Place de la Concorde, where the guillotine was cutting off heads for 18 months, 3,000 were executed. But more people killed all across the revolution in France, of course, than that. So just to give it in context. So the tragedy, of course, is that the peaceful constitutional movement was derailed by Lands Outside. I think that's enough.